It's a beautiful day, a bit windy, but I see colors everywhere. It's getting gorgeous with those cherry blossoms. And I thought, why not paint something very colorful? And yes, it's time for all the frogs and the caterpillars to come out. So let's paint this beautiful, colorful frog today. And you can see there's so many colors here today. We are going to go section by section. And I think Susan has already put the link on the chat to for the reference pictures and the drawing and the materials. So go ahead and get started with the drawing. You can see it looks a bit complex, but honestly, just go step by step. First, draw the leaf here, and then you can just very gently just make like a skeleton of the outer layers here. It doesn't have to be very specific, and even inside, you don't need too many details. So I'll give you about 10 minutes to finish the drawing, and then we'll discuss about the colors and how to actually get started with the painting. If you have any questions, please put it on chat, and me or Susan will help answer those questions. It could be any question. So get started. You can break down the drawing into different parts like one, two, three, 4, 5. That way, it's going to be simpler to draw. And it doesn't have to be very perfect drawing. I understand some of us are more skilled at drawing, and some of us are directly using the paintbrush. I am the second one actually. I want to jump right away with my paintbrush. So I am a slow drawer, and that's okay. So just get a simple drawing, and you're good to go. But 5 more minutes, 5, 6 minutes, and then we'll start painting. And those who have already finished the drawing, you can gather your colors. Just take a look at the reference picture and try to understand what colors you see. Sometimes there are colors beneath each other. So take a closer look and see what are the colors that you can use throughout the painting to make it look cohesive. And you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. It's a colorful, happy frog. feel free to do any color frog you like. You don't have to do the yellow and the blue. You can add purple, anything you like. Okay, about 4 more minutes. Okay, 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Let me gather all my supplies. You won't need too many brushes for this. Just a round brush is fine. One more minute. Almost there. Okay, everyone, let's get started. Before we get started, as usual, I always keep my black and white picture and my colorful picture together to try to understand how light or how dark I should paint something. You can see the edge of this leaf is so dark than this area of the frog or the shape. And that's what makes it very contrasting, right? And look at the background. This is darker than this, but sometimes you cannot make that out in a colorful picture. Okay, so this is really helpful. So make sure that you make these areas dark for it to stand out. Okay, so I'm trying to make this really light so that I can make these areas quite dark and stand out. Next, see the colors we have. Oh, beautiful colors. I see underneath some yellow, some reds, some pinks, some purples, yellows again, blues, different form of yellow. This is more warmer, that's a little cooler yellow. See the blues here, some greens here. And see, almost all the colors are in the background. Whatever color is here, it goes somewhere in the background. The blue, the green here, the reds here, right? So we're going to make sure that we incorporate everything in the painting. So let's get started. And for a painting like this, I want to make sure that I try to finish this area so that it dries and then go here. Because if I start painting this, then, it's a little harder to actually navigate. Okay, so let's get started. I'll try to show my palette as much as possible, but let's see. So I'm going to start with some yellow, excuse me, a little warmer yellow. When I say warmer yellow, it's going to be a little more on the orange side. Look at this. Okay. And I'm going to take a very liquidy, I would say more water kind of a uh, yellow, and just paint in this area. Okay. And I might have to go more layers on it, add some more oranges or things like that. But for now, I'm just going to keep this very, very light yellow here. And while this is wet, what I can do is I can take a bit of orange, mix with some of that yellow, make it a little darker, and even add some layers here. You see that? Now, the reason I'm doing this now is because it's wet and it'll let the color flow very, very smoothly into this area, right? Do you see that? It's in some areas a little darker. Okay. And I'll let this dry so that you guys can catch up. Next, we'll handle the other yellow areas, but I'll give you guys a minute to catch up. And we'll follow the same sequence of a little bit of yellow first and a little bit of yellow mixed with orange or red or whatever you want, just to make it a little darker. Okay. And leave one or two spaces here because I can see some spaces left here just so that it looks very realistic. Continue wherever you see yellow. I'll go down as well. I see some beneath under yellow. And while this is wet, I pick up the darker orangish yellow and fill up the area that's a bit dark. Okay, great. So I'll give you guys a bit of extra time to catch up. See, if you add a bit of darker here, how this area starts to shine immediately. So a minute for you guys to catch up, and then we'll move on to those greenish bluish layers. Okay. Painting in watercolor is mostly about, or anything is mostly about observation. Every time you paint an area, go back and just reflect and see what else does it need. Sometimes it may not need anything. Sometimes it needs a little more darker layer, and that you'll realize when the painting dries. I can already see I need some dark layers, but that's okay. I would rather work one layer at a time than put like a big slap of paint on the paper that looks very chalky and not transparent, because that's the beauty of watercolors. It has to look transparent, right? Okay, so let's go on with a nice light green mixture. I'm using this green. You can see that. And I'm going to keep it light, super light. Okay. Why? Because that's what I see in my black and white picture. Okay. And I am leaving some spaces here and there because that's what I see, some realism to capture. And while this is still wet, I can go back and take some turquoise blue and get into some of these areas, right? And again, you can use whatever blue you have. Even I don't have the exact blue, and I'm okay not to mix up the exact blue. I just like to use sometimes what I have on my palette. That way, I also use those colors. Sometimes I don't end up using the colors that I buy a lot. So this is a great way to use colors, and you may be surprised that you like it better, right? And that's what I enjoy about watercolors. You have so much to explore. Okay, just with one or two colors, you can do so much. I am going down in those areas. Okay, of blue, and you can see how they're all extending. so you guys can catch up, and we'll move on to the other areas. Now, I'm not going to call it as a feet or hand because for me, they are just shapes. Okay. I'm just trying to match the values, which is the lightness or darkness of any color, with what the shape is. That's it. Okay. So that's my goal. And I keep comparing with my black and white picture. I can go back in and you can see some spaces are left. And I'm going to do exactly the same, leaving some spaces here and there. Same way, I'm going to get really light, as you can see, almost like very muddy, I can say, and get into a bit of dark of blue. Same here. You can continue to add some darks. Okay. Wherever I see some dark, I can add some blue here. Just trying to make the contrast really um, stand out. Okay. And I will wait for you guys to catch up. Next, what we're going to do is, I think I can go ahead and add some yellows near the eye area. And you can see the eyes here. It's kind of a dark bluish greenish color. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. I'm going to take this yellow. It's super light. I want to make sure the areas around it are dry because I don't want that blue and yellow to mix, it becomes green, which I don't want. So make sure that the layers around it are dry. Bit of that orangish yellow. And then I'm going to take a smaller brush. Why? Because I want to make the eyes, right? And I'm going to take some nice dark bluish greenish mixture, a little thick mixture. Okay, so less water and more paint. Okay, nice and dark. Okay, then I'm going to let it dry for 2 minutes, and then we go back. And I think we'll leave the frog area as it is, let it dry, and get into the leaf. Okay, so 2 minutes for you guys to catch up, and then you'll see all the beautiful colors. I'll start from the top. Okay. Okay, let's start. I'm going to start on the top here with some yellow. And as I come down, some orange. While it's wet, I can pick some pink or red. Yeah, I think I need red. It's not pink. Some nice dark area to work with. Same here, you can continue the yellow, but this time there is green, right? So while it's still wet, make sure you add some green. Right? And while it's wet, I'll take some nice blue, mixed with a little bit of brown and green. just to make it a little dirty. You know, when you want to make like a dirty green, add some brown to it. It depends what kind of green you're using. And I want to make it a little dark. You can also add a bit of red here. I do see some beautiful, beautiful reds. Now, see, I'm working everything while it's wet. You know why? Because the colors will all mingle. Okay. It's called the wet and wet technique. Okay. Now I can stop. You guys can continue. And if you have any questions, please let us know. It could be the smallest question. And if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I can sometimes forget and keep painting with my own pace. So, yeah, anything, any questions, any concerns, anything, let me know. Next, we'll paint this area, stop, and then paint this whole area. So this way you can work in sections. Otherwise, it'll be really overwhelming to work the whole leaf with all these different areas coming in between. Okay. 2 minutes and I'll start. And you can see the colors again. It's kind of a reddish pinks. There's a lot of purples here. I'll definitely add that. Okay. First, I'm going to take a little bit of brown on the top. It's kind of muddy. And then a bit of pinkish red. And while it's wet, I don't mind using some purple. If you think it's not too dark, you can add a bit of blue to that purple. Okay. And again, I'm going to stop. Why? So that I don't disturb the other layers, right? And let watercolor do its thing. Not bad. We are almost 50% done with the painting. And then we'll add details and we'll add, emphasize on the frog. Okay. Next, we're going to go to this layer and see the layers here. Wow, they are beautiful. So what I'm going to do is before I start, I'm going to keep all my paints ready because I want to work wet on wet. I'm going to keep my yellow, my pink, my reds all ready, and even my purples so that I can actually mix them while I am painting the wet on wet technique. So first we'll start with a nice yellow, not too dark, because we're going to add so many layers here. Okay, You got to be careful with this one because there are some small areas here to tackle. And I'm going to just stick here, not go too far. Again, while it's wet, I'm going to pick up all the beautiful pinks and reds. Again, while it's wet, I need those top layers to be darker. Okay, so let's see what I have. I think red. Yeah. Look, because it's wet, the colors are really blending into each other. Okay, and that's what we want. I took some red and purple mix. And while it's wet, it's a thick mixture. So I can add some here. Make some streaks, darker areas. Okay. This needs to be a little more darker, so I can add this here. Okay. Now I'll wait again for about 2 to 3 minutes, give you guys time to catch up, finish this area, and then we'll move on to top again. Okay. Any questions, please let us know. Okay, let's go ahead to the next area. You see some green here. Greenish, yellowish greenish, I would say. It's got some beautiful yellows. Keep it light. Let it dry. I can take a bit of purple here and get the darks, as you can see. And wait. Okay, so next we need to move on to these areas and fill them. I can see I need to add a little more of the darker areas here. So I can mix a little bit of orange, maybe take a bit of brown, I guess, just to make it a little darker, or red, but I think this is good. It needs a little more um, extra darkness, contrast. And then I can continue with the same colors. And continue to add that extra orange color in some areas. Right? And it did take a bit of brown here, as you can see. The color changed slightly because I needed some intensity. And I'll continue here again in this hollow area. And before it dries, I can take some purple. Okay. Let it dry. Give you guys a few minutes to catch up. We don't have much left. Okay. We just have the background and a few things here and there. I'll show you what next. Okay. But any questions, please let us know. I'll take a bit of the same pink here and add it. Maybe I need some yellow here. Somewhere here. Okay. Just see where you want to add some colors. I'll take some blue. Sorry, actually purple, and darken some of these areas. See, this has to be dark to really make a contrast. Excuse me. So just a few areas here to make it look really dark. Take a bit of blue now because I want some blue ducks in this area. Just a few spots here and there. And I think that looks good. So we're almost done with the frog, and I'll show you the background now. But I'll wait for a minute so that you guys can catch up. And just remember, this has been recorded, so you can go back and check if you haven't had the time to complete it with me. Absolutely go ahead and try it again. Send me the pictures. I still get a lot of pictures from people after completing their paintings, and it's always very motivating. And any topic you want or any theme you want me to paint, let me know. I'll try my best. Okay. For the next part, I'm going to start gathering all the colors first because I want to do all wet and wet. And you can see what are the colors here. Almost like a very grayish blue. Some reds, some pinks, purples, greens, grays again. It could be brown, it could be black, it could be anything. But once I put the water on it, my paint should be ready to go on and fill up the paper. Okay. Otherwise, it will dry. So I'll start gathering the paints and then I'll wet the paper. Okay. And I want to make sure the left hand side is lighter than the right hand side. It's got a difference in values. Okay. So here you go. I'm going to wet this area very carefully. Okay. I don't want to ruin any of the other areas. So be very careful, slow down. I don't want to go into the leaf or the frog. Just be very careful. And if you want, you can just do it halfway and like stop here and then go ahead with the other half. So let's do that. Let's just do the first half, left-hand side. Okay. And I'm going to take some nice blue, super light. And take some of the red here. I know my red is a little different. I think I'm using the wrong palette here. It's like I have so many palettes right now with me. And you can see I went inside the leaf. That's okay. Hmm. Next, I can go ahead and wet this area gently, carefully around the shapes. And I'm going to go with those beautiful colors. Bit of pink, bit of sorry, reds, bit of those grays or blacks, you can say, purples, green. Just have fun with the colors here. I want to make sure on this top, this is dark. Okay. And this area can be really light. It's got some color. But you can see how quickly you got the background by just wetting the paper, right? So this is very important, how you work with your techniques. If you use this dry, one, it's going to give you all streak and it takes forever for you to finish the area. But with the wet paint and wet paper, the color just flows. And that's the best part about watercolors. Okay, so what I usually do is I let this dry, come back again, and probably add maybe a few colors here and there if I feel it's light. I can already feel, some areas are kind of a little dull because I think probably use too much water or something, but that's okay. That's how I fix my paintings. I go back again and again and again until I'm satisfied and keep adding color. It's always easier to add color than to remove color. So don't be afraid if you go light. You can always add color.